Thank you, Sue. All those in favour?
Can I have the proposer seconder?
Proposer was Natalie. Secondly was Sue.
And everyone was in favour?
Yeah, I didn't vote in favour because I wasn't.
Yeah, and you weren't here either, were you? No, so two abstentions.
Thank you.
Okay, to deal with any matters arising from the minutes on the 24th of June, covered elsewhere. Item 7.1 is update of Brookway Gantry Centre car park by Bradley Stoke Surgery and Bradley Stoke Pharmacy staff. And you've all got a paper on this. So, Phil, do you want to just comment?
Yes, so I've written quite a sizable report for council of this because it's one of those where, given the potential recommendations from officers, could have some public backlash. So it is definitely for consideration. Essentially, it's got to the point where the majority of the staff at the surgery and the pharmacy are complying with not parking in our side of the car park. However, not all of the staff from both sides of the business are doing the same thing. And those which are refusing not to park in the car park do every single day and get quite defensive when we tell them to move out of the car park. And essentially the surgery has said that they've got no way of actually disciplining these people or telling them to move out of the car park, and they've got no way of enforcing it whatsoever. So we're getting to the point now where we see it as we've got two options. Option one is we introduce a barrier that blocks off our side of the car park.
Because I'm having difficulty hearing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no worries, go for it.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. So yes, it's essentially we either block off our side of the car park and completely stop anyone from parking there, unless we're hiring up the building to anyone. The other option is to look at investigating potential third-party companies to come in, install an ANPR camera on our side of the car park, give public an allotted amount of time that they could stay there, for example, 45 minutes, an hour and a half. And then past that point, they would receive a fine, which would be down to the third-party company to administer. We wouldn't get involved in that. It would simply be there as a deterrent to stop people from blocking our car park all day. Because like we've said before, we have no issue with patients coming in and using that side of the car park. We appreciate it's a busy doctor's surgery and not all their patients are going to be able to park on their side. But patients are usually there for half an hour to an hour tops. So by the time they've moved on, there's still spaces and there's still free flow within the car park at those times. If we do get to a point where a couple of more staff decide, well, actually, no, that person's been allowed to park in the car park and nothing's happened to them, so I'm going to park in the car park because nothing can happen to me because you haven't done anything to them, which is a dangerous sort of position surgery and ourselves find ourselves in. But yeah, it's over to councillors really for considerations as to the next steps. I believe John Bradbury was first.
Yeah, John.
Sorry, and then James.
First question, Phil. Have the caretakers been approached even informally to discuss the idea of them policing the car park at all, given the potential conflicts that could arise with users?
The issue is we don't really have a full-time caretaker at Brookway. Due to the limitations and how often Brookway is hired out, it's not financially responsible to put a full-time caretaker there. Usually the duties that a caretaker would perform, like the water checks, boiler checks and everything else for the building that gets done and preventative maintenance, is completed by the mobile cleansing operative, and he pops in throughout his day, rather than having somebody actually stationed at Brookway.
So they wouldn't necessarily be available to sort of check on car park usage throughout the day?
No, and our current cameras are too far back to be able to capture the license plates.
Roughly how many cars are offending?
So on any given day, it's probably 7.
Okay.
And we've got 39 spaces. So 7 is actually quite a large
And
amount of spaces to be taken up.
just an observation, if we were to go down the route of an external parking enforcement provider, what does this committee think about potential for reputational risk to the town council? Because we could be seen to be employing one of these draconian clamp as soon as you blink type operators, and then who would charge an extortionate amount to release the vehicle. I'm not very keen on that route, but I'd be interested to hear what everybody else says. That's all for now.
Just respond. So it wouldn't be a company that clamps vehicles. It would just be one that basically they're a private company and they send out a notification in the post to basically say you overstayed.
Okay.
You need to read the signage. So they would put up their own signage.
So would it be via AMPR?
It would, yeah.
Right, okay. Terry?
There is a similar thing in Pear Tree at the top. Yeah. And they it's the same, they sort of you have to put your name in and all that business, and then if you stay there over a certain number of times, a certain amount of hours, then, and in fact actually the chap that installed the defib, he didn't put his name in. And it took me about 2 months to get him off the parking charge, which did happen. So that was really good. But so that's the sort of thing. It's exactly that sort of thing. I don't personally think there would be any reputational thing. So I just think, people are being told. I find it staggering that the surgery are saying that they can't discipline their staff
No, I do.
for doing things they're told not to do.
Yeah.
So I think that is the best option really, because the barrier, we would have to manage that, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
So the AMPR, whatever that's called, is totally out of our hands then, isn't it? And it's very clear, if you park here and you shouldn't be parking here, then you get charged. And really, like a lot of other things, parking around schools and all the rest of it, the only language anybody speaks is money. So I think that AMPR is the one.
I got Dave, Sue, and Govinda.
I think James has had his hand up quite a while.
Who? Sorry, James. Sorry.
I find myself agreeing with Terry on this. It's a public asset. It's being used by, yes, a publicly funded organisation, but they're still a private station. I mean, I agree that if these were our staff, just obeying a very clear matter of instruction, they would not be employed by us very quickly. So hearing that from the surgery, I think is odd. I agree. The AMPR is, let's look into the costs, how much it will cost us to do before committing, because it's a ridiculously high fee. That would be an issue. But let's have a look. How much would we be paying them on an annual basis? Because I assume it's an annual fee.
So I have had some preliminary talks with another company before who were somewhat interested. So I had a conversation with them. The majority of the time with these companies, there is no cost to implement it because they take all the money from the fines. We would not benefit at all financially from the fines. It would not be for the council to gain any funds from this happening. The company use the fines as an income source, essentially.
Right. Okay. And we both decided we could say you have 2 hours or an hour, sort of. Yeah. I don't want us to be reasonably generous with the amount we give. It's not be because there are appointments to do, and possibly allow people to pay for maybe pay to Trump, but be ready to adjust what we give, so we're not being too punitive. But do for me for parking all day.
Okay. I've got 5 more speakers, so just try not to repeat what's been said before. So Dave.
Yeah, let's be quite clear. The AMPR operatives' objectives are not aligned with ours on this. They're there to make money, not to avoid pissing off our customers or anybody else. So I would like to make that point is that being next to Parkway, I see a lot of complaints about ANPR simply because they tend to take the first entry and the last exit of the day and ignore any other entries and exits in between times and then charge you. So if you drop people off twice, you tend to get a parking ticket. So potentially surgery users, if they came for 2 appointments, would get clocked coming in for the first one and leaving for the second one, and then get an APR ticket. And it would be council staff here who would be trying to sort that out. The parking company does not do that for you. So that's an issue. There would be necessarily work involved because they would complain to us as town council first, as the owner of the car park, and it would be down to us to determine if they had a valid reason for not being charged, because it's not a fine, it's a charge for violating an implicit contract for using the car park. I take the point about employees being disciplined, and that's just not going to happen. If anybody tried to discipline an employee for parking their car somewhere outside of work, I mean, if they drove it through the surgery doors and parked it in the bloody reception area, you might have a case for disciplinary action. But otherwise, where they park their car, it's nothing to do with their employer. And if they tried to discipline them for that, they would be up in front of an industrial tribunal. So that's 2 points. So I do think there's a significant risk of reputational damage. There's already been a couple of Facebook posts I've seen from people saying, why the heck is this half of the car park coned off? Why can't we use it? And that's when it's reserved for a legitimate hirer. So people going in and getting ANPR tickets would probably cause us reputational damage. If we don't charge for that car park, we need to know who the legitimate hirers are, whether they're allowed to use the car park for the all day, and that means tracking number plates, having a registration system. And if people are using it for the doctor's surgery, how do we know that they didn't leave in the middle of the day and come back again, which is the main cause of complaints at Parkway. So I have a lot of concern about that.
Yeah, can I just comment? I mean, if you're dropping somebody off, you would tend to drop them off near the surgery. So you go into the surgery car park, drop them off, and then go around and come out again. So you wouldn't actually venture into our side at all.
Yeah, you do. And it's straight away, so nothing would happen.
So I don't. So they wouldn't.
Where you go in, drop somebody off.
They wouldn't be covered.
You go in later on and pick them up and exit, and the system says you came in here at the first point and left here at the second point, and that was 8 o'clock in the morning. You drop them up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and pick them up, and they get charged.
But I say, I think because it would only cover our car park and not the surgery car park. Say, if you're dropping somebody off, you'd go and drop them off by the surgery. You wouldn't drop them off in the Brookway side of it,
For your appointment.
So
you might park in the
and I would disagree with you about the management instruction as well. If you issue a management instruction to somebody, knowing that the agreement with the surgery and the pharmacy is that employees do not park in that area, if you then have a management instruction saying don't do it, that is a disciplinary situation.
It's like the employer said to me,
it's not public.
Use that car park. It's outside work. It's not a legitimate instruction concerned with your duties as an employee. Basically,
it's a private area, Dave. It's not public.
Can you mind our language on it?
Anyway,
that's a point between us
and
the car park.
I'll bring in Sue at this point.
I think there would be considerable reputation damage. I don't think it would be a good thing to do. And I wanted to know as well, has it got worse since the two Bradley Stoke and Stoke Gifford surgeries are working together? Because now people come from Stoke Gifford to use the site, including staff. So there is more staff and patients visiting who may not know about those rules.
If it has got worse, we're talking 2 to 3 vehicles worse. It's not every day that you'll have visitors from the other sites, and they tend to visit for a short periods of time. So we've never had problems with short stay visitors. The issue is people who are parking literally at the start of the day at 7 o'clock in the morning once the front gates are open.
Working in the surgery or
we've got recordings of them literally getting out of the car and walking to their car, and then recordings of either Gillian, myself, or Will going to them saying, please can you not park here, and some gestures being thrown on footage.
Would it not be worth writing to say, if it continues, after this date, we will be introducing this and there will be fines?
We can give them the pre-warning. I don't think it's going to change anything. But, I mean, it's one of those, until you do it, people will go, all right, I'll call your bluff on it. I know I would.
I think there'd be big reputational damage, and I don't think it'd be a good time.
Okay, I've still got Kavinda, Natalie, Ben, Terry, and Dave to speak. So, Kavinda?
Question is there any current signage stating clearly who can or cannot park in that place?
When you drive in, there is a big yellow sign that says activity centre parking only, which has a clear sign to the left, which everybody ignores.
Natalie?
Yes, so I do actually use the service there. So I think if we were to go ahead with this option, I think it's really important that I'm just speaking from experience, that actually you need a minimum of an hour and a half to allow for waiting time and patients being seen. The other thought I have had was around the staffing who are parking there. They may not necessarily be employed by the GP practice. It could be that they are staff from elsewhere, like Serona. I think it would also be useful to know, have you kept a log of the repeat offenders registration number and checked with the practice whether are they directly employed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got a log of all 7 offending and the dates of when they do it, and it's pretty much every day. It's got to the point we no longer record it because it was getting
so they are actually GP practice employed staff. And the other point was, if we did go with that option, that any contract would have to allow for that flexibility of patients coming maybe 2 or 3 times for a practice visit that day. That does sometimes happen. So I think that needs to be factored in. That is the option that's viewed.
Okay. Ben?
Personally, I am categorically against the idea of installing AMPR and barriers in that car park. I think it would signal, it just sends all the wrong messages to the members of the public of how that car park's used, because there are people who genuinely using it for GP practice reasons and everything else. And I just don't like the idea of that, even if it's not a parking charge or whatever to be there. I just think the whole imagery of what that kind of signals is just a bad thing and represents an escalation or de-escalation of the situation. I know that we're chaining the car park off when we have hirers to basically protect our car park for the people we are letting the building to and allowing them to use the space. When the car park isn't roped off and these members of staff are parking in the car park, and while it might be a frustration to the council for those 7 of 39 spaces being occupied, but when there's no hirer or other activity taking place there, I'm trying to balance up, is that really a problem that needs this level of escalation to kind of fence it off? Because if it is, I would suggest we probably fence off the car park or half the car park a bit more than we currently are, more frequently. But we have historically said there has been an issue where our car park has been used too much and their own hirers have been displaced when they've tried to use the building. So I think trying to gauge that is the important thing, because if the car park was open, they were parking there all day, but there was no hirer being disrupted or complaints of a hirer having to go elsewhere, I think ignoring it but not being happy with it is probably better than saying an AMPR system, permanently roping it off. I'm trying to gauge that. What is the actual problem?
Yeah. So I mean, when we do cone off our side of the car park, like for example, the most recent occurrence was the afternoon tea party.
Yeah.
So we cone that off at 7 o'clock and there are already 5 spaces gone, because that's how early these staff are getting in. So they're getting in before anyone else.
But why couldn't it be
right away
the night before?
Because we didn't manage to get to it that time.
But that's planning though on the council's behalf. We knew that event was happening, and we could have gone and coned it off the night before. I appreciate we haven't got to it, but I think a lessons learned from that activity is that when we know we've got an event like that, we have to go and cone it the night before.
The only response I really have is the fact that the scouts use it in the evening. So if we cone off that car park the night before, then the scouts can't use it, and they're legitimate high-risk of our building.
Camps lock up though, don't they?
They do, but they won't put the cones across. Trust me, we've asked.
I think we could organise ourselves though to do that, to mitigate the problem, because I just think AMPR, all of that represents an escalation and an image of like Bradley Stoke Town Council I don't think we want to represent. in my view.
So, I mean, what councillors may have seen recently as well, connected to the Facebook posts, is when we cone off our car park, people literally just park all along the curbside, on the grass, anywhere they bloody well please, even though we've got double yellows. They will just park there, and then it's us that get the blame because we've coned off our side of the car park. So,
Harry,
A couple of things. I would say that the depth to which this report goes indicates that there is a serious problem. So I don't think that is something that would be discussed. My issue is that if we have made it clear to the surgery, the people who work for the surgery should, regardless of whether they are permanent employees or whatever, should not be parking in the car park. Then if we just simply accept it, what message does that send? So I am very much in favour of the ANPR because that is the least. I don't agree that it has a reputational issue, because I would think that the amount of car parking sort of rules and everything else that we all face everywhere, I don't think anybody would even notice it. But it is the best option in my opinion because it just manages itself. It doesn't. You don't have to be locking it up, working out the night before, doing it, whatever. Because if you park there and you stay longer than an hour and a half or whatever the figure is going to be, then you get charged. And okay, I'll take the point. Well, if it does happen, that somebody goes in the morning and drops somebody off, and in the afternoon they have to drop off again or something like that, then I mean, that's a question mark in my mind whether that's the case. But if Dave thinks it is, then that's a different thing. But then obviously the person must be very ill, so they can easily present a kind of medical report to the car parking people, because you can challenge these things. So on all of those points, I think that we should consider the ANPR, because don't forget, we've got to remember that it takes time. And the other thing I forgot to mention is that we used to charge the surgery for those parking spaces, and that was a good income.
Yeah.
But they got quite uppity about it, and then suddenly, because we wanted to increase by a very small amount, they decided that they weren't going to be playing ball. And of course, they've enjoyed for however many years that is, absolutely not having to pay any money. Okay, so we've got to think, if you're talking about reputation, we've got to think about our income as well. And if we're then displacing legitimate people, that are legitimately visiting because someone is there, erroneously and against advice, then that's a big problem, I think, in my opinion.
we're not going to get any income if we go down the ANPR route.
That, but I just wanted to make the point that we used to.
Yeah.
So of course, what's happened is they've decided they're not going to charge. They're not going to pay any charges, and we are still left with the problem that some of our people are being, displaced because people are parking when they're against the advice that we've asked, against instructions effectively. So I think that is a big problem, and I think that this very, very detailed, brilliant report shows that there is a big issue.
Okay, I've got Dave, John, and James left. So after that, we'll see if we can come to get a resolution.
Okay.
Dave?
It seems we have a problem with 7 people. And I think installing ANPR to police a non-existent problem with the rest of the users is probably overkill. So I would suggest we go after the 7 people causing the problem for civil trespass, which is, I think, something we can legitimately, it's a civil case. It'd be a little bit more work on our side, but if we wanted to instruct a solicitor, if we know who these people are, which Phil says we do, we can go after them directly rather than risk penalising relatively innocent users of the car park. Let's go after the people who are causing the problem.
You might then get another 7 then.
I've got John now.
I was going to propose that we go along with recommendation at 14, investigate all the options so we know what it's going to cost us if we go down any particular avenue. And for the risk of showing our hands to surgeries, write to the surgery, say, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're looking at. And we tell them we're going to do that. And Dave's point about 7 vehicles, we indicate that we might consider civil action against those vehicles. End of.
James?
Yeah, I think I broadly agree with what Don's just said there. I think it's worth, making a final threat, a final, very firm message, because that could avoid having to go down this route. But, I think to respond to some points that have been made, I would just emphasise that this is a public asset we're talking about. We spent a lot of money to extend the car park on our side, and this is an asset that we have owned. The surgery got rid of their staff car parking spaces to put the pharmacy in. So this is a problem of really their creation, and they're lumping it onto us, onto the public, the taxpayers of Bradstoke. And I don't think it's so. I think, consider this will mostly affect their staff. As long as we're reasonably generous with the hours we give, I think it's reasonable to go down this route. So if you want to make that as a proposal, John, I'd be happy to second your proposal.
Okay, so I got 2 more, and I'm going to stop after that, and then we'll go to John. Ben, do you
I
want
was going to say, I think what David suggested is a good idea. Like, if we have a way of sticking up a sign that says, that's the contract, that's what the negotiation is for doing this. But then we can then, through our own monitoring, our own CCTV, identify who the cars are and see what we can do to kind of target how it's being enforced. But whether there's legalities and that around that, I mean, who knows? I've got no idea. But whether that's a more sensible thing, because if there's a sign which is our contract and it's been misused, and we can then see those people, who those people are, they're then breaking a contract that they're not supposed to do. It's clearly saying if you're employed by this or have a formal route of employment or sub-employment with the surgery next door, you should not park in this car park. I would like to be something a little bit less than a full-blown AMPR system if we can get there, but who knows?
Okay, finally, Sue.
Have you spoken to the new management in the surgery? Because now they've come together, there is a different management structure over the two. It isn't just Bradley Stoke on its own. So, Gavin is the overall business manager for all the practices. Since they've joined, have you spoken to the new management?
The only person we speak to is Debbie, who took
Debbie
over.
Leach.
Yeah. She's our contact at the surgery, basically. We've not contacted anyone else.
I think it's worth going up the chain and speaking to them. Actually, writing now they are it's a new different practice, and there will be more coming and going because of the 3 surgeries working together and sharing tasks across the premises, across the 3 sites.
Okay, so I'll try and sum up a little bit. We've got there's two opinions. One that will affect the reputation of the council, one that won't. We've then got a proposal or seconded proposal, basically saying investigate further, but then write to the surgery and say this is what we intend to do. Okay. But then on the other hand, we have Dave suggesting that we take legal action against the 7 people who are currently offending, which seems to be receiving support from Ben.
I didn't say second, but I'm interested in that kind of route.
What I would like to propose is we add an item 10 to this list, which is that we investigate the possibility of civil legal action against persistent trespassers in our car park.
All right, would there be a seconder for that?
Better messaging. I think you could merge both of these proposals together.
Yeah.
We can add one more option.
Okay, John, are you happy to take that amendment?
Can you just repeat it? I didn't quite hear it because the fan.
What I'm suggesting is we add item 10, which is that we look at the possibility of taking civil legal action against these 7 offenders, persistent trespass.
Yeah.
Okay.
That amendment, I'm happy to propose that.
Okay, so we've got a proposal to investigate the AMPR element further, advise the surgery of those investigations, and then also, in addition to that, to explore the options of taking civil action against the 7 people who are currently the people who are parking in our area.
Yeah.
Putting up some kind of thing to say you
Better messaging.
I think you are right, because I think the legal side of it, we would need to display probably in more than one location as well.
They could be breaking something, don't they?
Yeah, there would need to be something that basically says, by parking here, you agree to these conditions.
I think in that case, all we need to do is just send them a letter saying you are trespassing. You should not be parking here. We don't have to put general signs up. It's a specific group of people we're targeting. If they get the letter saying you are not authorised to park here, you're trespassing.
You're breaking something,
No,
don't
they
they?
don't. They're just trespassing. It's our car park. It's private.
The court is saying, well, did you know that you were trespassing? And they said no. They say no because nothing said I was trespassing.
You need because the sign is the contract.
Yeah.
They need to break the contract. If they turn up,
That's the reason I
they
asked.
turned up.
The signage clearly identified.
Yeah, I think we have-
Okay,
We said we're going to investigate this.
It's fine, like we say, it's
I don't think-
investigation.
yeah.
I think what's been suggested, bringing this together a bit, is that we investigate and almost certainly that would involve us formally consulting solicitors as to the law around trespass as it would affect our sites, because we want to know exactly what we would need to do to bring a claim. So I think by adding that to John's proposal, we are in effect authorising officers to spend what is necessary. So we might need to look at what budget we're willing to spend as to obtain legal advice.
Yeah.
Reduced it.
Yeah. Well, I say in that resolution, we've included investigate a civil action, so that's basically included in
But
that.
just making sure we're absolutely clear that effectively we are
So,
authorising officers
but I think the feeling is that we need to
advice.
also put some more explicit signs up, in addition to what
Yes,
we're doing.
step 1.
So, can we add that to that resolution as well? Officers to arrange for appropriate signage to be displayed.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Okay, I've got Joel's proposer, James the seconder. All those agreed?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So, move on to 7.2. Quotes repairs to Bradley Stoke skate park surfaces.
Yes, so I'm bringing this one to councillors. As you may be aware, the skate park's been open since 2016. It's well used. We probably get around 100 to 200 visitors every single day to that skate park. With that sort of usage over 10 years, as you can imagine, there is some wear and tear around the skate park now. The concrete is starting to sage and there's cracking. I initially approached 4 companies beforehand. One came back to me to say they only do new installations. The other 3 didn't reply at all. So I spoke to King's Ramps, who are the ones who actually come and do the half pipe at the festival. And they actually do repairs on skate parks. And they've given a quote basically to do the repairs, to repainting, to jet wash everything as well before they do, and then put a lacquer into the concrete that they do, just to make sure it's got a smooth playing sort of skating surface, which should last us around another 10 years.
Definitely, John.
I'd like to propose that we go ahead with King's Ramps. I'll second that.
Can we take that from the skate park refurbishment reserve?
And I'd like you to propose.
John, do you want to?
I was going to anticipate what Natalie was going to say, and I was going to second it. But
All right.
Okay, well, you can do what you want.
So we got a proposer for Natalie, seconded by John. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you.
pounds.
Well, we know them. We know them. And
Yeah.
they know what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Okay, moving on to financial matters. 8.1, 26-27 budget review report. Do you feel
Right.
like interview?
Hot off the press. So do you want me to go through everything because it came out so late?
Well, I think it's probably worth just going over the key points of it. Yes.
I'm just going to.
Just been circulated tonight.
Yeah, and it came out later earlier today.
Which one are we looking at?
We're talking about the financial summary 8.1.
Yeah,
I haven't got one of those either. You got it? Right.
Do you want to go and grab, is it in the
Just things.
papers over there?
This is yours. This was put on the table for you.
Oh, I see. Okay, now. So
Right,
left
right
it.
there. There.
I'll try to find it electronically.
Yeah, so that one. Yeah.
So in Rachel's defence, she has been extremely busy.
And I was off last week.
Yeah.
For certain reasons. Yeah, so as it stands at the moment, overall total income has held, and we've achieved 547,000, which is pretty good. It's on a par with last year, slightly above. What is quite interesting is that the 3 sites have also maintained income very close to last year at this point. Bearing in mind, we actually had to close bookings down for a time because we lost the booking clerk, and we just had insufficient staff. So for a while, we had to close it down for new bookings other than block bookers. So I was expecting a greater impact. So I'm very pleased that it has actually sort of maintained similar levels for the same period as last year. There's only one recommended budget change on the income side. No, there's 3. We received sponsorship for the tea party from My Home Care, which I believe was presented at another meeting. So to increase miscellaneous income by £100, nominal code 4003. The Bailiff's Court rooms, the room hire, I reduced for now because we've just lost Abacus, the preschool.
Well,
Just on that point, Rachel, is there any work underway to try and replace that income with a new hire up at all for that house?
I did have a phone call
That sounds good.
of a possible interest. That was literally yesterday, but I mean, that facility has only just become available, so it's still early days at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
So, and we couldn't do anything sort of beforehand because obviously it was being used throughout the day. So it's quite a difficult situation. So
on this point, Dave?
I was intending to ask more about Abacus, but it turns me that's probably not appropriate.
no.
I mean, if you wanted, you could propose that after we've discussed the agenda, we go to closed session at the end quickly to discuss anything along those lines.
Yeah. I'm happy to propose these changes. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Govinda. All those in favour? Unanimous.
That's for all the income budgets.
Yes.
Okay.
If we then go into closed session, I'll now propose that we go into closed session because of the sensitive nature of the information we're about to receive.
Which test we do at the end.
Is there a seconder for that?
Hang on, can I ask a question?
Thank you, Ben.
Can I ask a question? Question about this.
Does the live feed stop?
Not at this moment in
No.
time because
So, are we going to talk about why the hire was lost, or the potential for new hires and things like that?
I think it's a bit of both, actually.
How is that related to the agenda item? And what information has been?
It's to do with potential income. So we've reduced the budget because we're losing Abacus. So potentially we could be replacing it.
As a safety measure, but
The logic I'm trying to understand is, so the agenda item is all of this information, the financial budget, which should be in the public domain. That specific information about a hirer or income or proposal for how that could change in the future should be an additional agenda item, and that item could be held in closed session for private information that could be subjected. So it seems like more so that the meeting is not put into private session. The meeting is continued as is. It is then a case of there's either a new agenda item for another meeting in the future that can be discussed with that relevant information and then agreed whether that should be held private, and then or councillors ask questions of the officer outside the meeting, and no decisions are made on the information received.
Okay, no, I accept what you're saying, Ben, but we're not taking anything out of the public domain that is already in these papers. All Dave has asked for is an explanation of why, and I think it's not unreasonable for us to just take a break, go into closed session, deal with that, and then come back to the report.
It wouldn't be a case of any decision making could be made in
No
that
decision.
session anyway.
But you put the agenda item in closed session though.
No, the agenda item is only if you're going to make a decision. We're not making any decisions. It's a point of information.
Can you just email Dave? Would that not? Because I mean, it's
I didn't want to cause any problems. I finish the meeting.
We
then
can update you outside the
Okay.
meeting. I think that's probably.
I think a question outside of the meeting would be good, and then
I'm happy
don't have to go into closed session over something's public.
just gives Dave what the information he wants, and it satisfies what you're saying. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm just.
Yeah,
We'll basically carry on the meeting and we'll deal with it afterwards. Okay. Move on. Income.
Right.
Expenditure.
I've summarised all the expenditures here.
There's a lot of changes.
A lot of changes. That's partly why this took so long, because following the year end in June, when all the figures were finalised, there was a lot less year end surplus that we were hoping to allocate. So I've had to restructure things quite drastically to put us sort of back into a positive situation. So some of it, do you want me to go through each one individually, or do you want to?
Well, hopefully people have read it. I mean, I've got a question in the sense of a lot of them where you've made slight savings is reduced to cover insurance excess based upon previous performance.
Yeah.
And that repeats on a number of occasions.
I'm grabbing money, basically.
Yeah, I accept that. Are we, in a sense, paying or allowing a budget to be inflated on the basis that we're paying or we're allowing more than the insurance excess? Is there any other elements we could reduce?
The difficult one, because in the past we've had a couple of claims. I don't want to tempt fate here. A couple of claims, in which case you could have 2 lots of excesses in a year. So I just looked at the situation. I'm trying to retrieve money. So I thought, sort of, if we're holding excesses across multiple sites and the play areas, hopefully, touch wood, we're unlikely to use them all, so we can sort of chop and change them. So really, it was just trying to retrieve money to fund other budgets.
Yeah, right, okay. Any questions on any of the changes proposed? Ben?
Happy to propose the changes.
Seconder? Thank you, Kavinda. All those in favour? Unanimous.
Can I just point one thing out that was very interesting? Brookway Gas, we had a refund of just over £7,000.
Yes.
Which was, I mean, useful. And it was down to meter problems. And also, when the contract first started, it appears that there was a miscalculation applied, so it wouldn't show up to us. Sort of, we would sort of get meter readings and everything, and it looked fine. But so yes, so we've grabbed that with open arms, and so hopefully that's going to fund the Brookway gas supply for quite some time. So yeah, so that was
amazing that they actually offered that information. They could just kept quiet.
Well, It started coming through, and I mean, we had invoices and credits like this. It was absolutely ridiculous. So I started phoning, and no one could tell me what was going on.
Oh,
So I worked everything backwards, and then spoke to someone, and I can see what happened. I won't say it on sort of live stream, but yeah. So
good. Well done.
and I did query it.
But
Yeah, so and they're insistent that it's due, which I'm not going to disagree with.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, we move. John.
Can't please a vote of thanks for Rachel for doing that very diligent work, please. Because you've obviously gone into that in quite some detail, and I think you deserve a credit for that.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, please.
Yeah, nothing more than just take the credit.
It's a true detective. The tax, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to earmarked reserves and the changes proposed there.
Right, quite a few changes here. So the first one, the Brookway Development Reserve, I spoke with Phil and he had a pretty good idea of the expenditure that is left for the Brookway storage. And so basically the budget has been reduced down to that level. Council had already approved moving 4,000 out of it for the potential EAP introduction that staffing has to consider or is due to consider at some point.
Does everybody know what EAP stands for?
Employee Assistance Programme.
Yeah.
This is the thing that we talked about staffing.
Yeah. So that's been moved to the contingent reserve further down 3090. Then the rest has been sort of reallocated elsewhere amongst the previous budgets that have been put in. Ground maintenance equipment. I hope I'm not tempting fate here again. We've had 6,500 sat in reserves for quite some time. So, but for now, I'm sort of reallocating 4,500 of that just to fund sort of the 26-27 budget. 2,000 is more than enough for servicing. So, and we have got other money within ground maintenance as well to substantiate that.
Terry?
Could I just explain a little bit more about the youth provision unallocated reserve? It says minus 29,000.
Yeah, I've robbed that hugely.
Okay, so could you just explain?
I spoke to Angie, the new sort of head of youth. This money has been accumulated over a number of years where youth budgets were ring fenced for any unspent monies. It's been sat there pretty much for 4 years. But we've got to the point that we have to reallocate some of the money. At the same time, there's over 60,000 sat within external grant income that for expenditure on youth. So I did sort of have a word with her, and she was like fine with us reducing this down to 10,000. I mean, basically, this one budget is taking the year-end surplus out of deficit into credit. So it's an important move.
I mean, one of the things is that we for a number of years, we had lottery funding for additional staff and we couldn't get anybody. So that the lottery allowed us to move it forward, or roll it forward.
Just the first year.
So, sorry?
It was just the first year.
First year, was it?
This is actually unspent core funding.
That's what, right, okay.
Because the unused external grant funding has to roll. We can't rob it. It has to roll. So that's held within the 500 codes within youth, and I roll at year end. So this was actually the core funding from the council that just hadn't been spent for years.
So the
ring fence.
The external funding is on top of that?
Yes,
Right,
yes.
okay.
So that's the only reason I've robbed here. So there's
So if we were to go down the road of trying to open the what are they called, containers? Is that
Yeah.
the right term?
yeah,
At the skate park, yeah.
Skate park, yeah, more often.
lottery funding was partly brought in for additional sessions.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's not included in this. This is just historic funds that were unspent that were kept back.
Okay.
In the meantime, external funding was coming in, and like John said, it hasn't been used to its potential for the first year. So, but they allowed us to keep it. So Angie's now beginning to bring that in. So it won't impact that at all.
So do we could increase the number of sessions then?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
from the external funding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is in addition.
Okay.
So it's just sat there, and you know we've done a lot of projects. We've got more projects coming. We can't afford to have that many just sat there.
Well, I mean, if it's covered elsewhere anyway, it doesn't matter, is it? If the
Yeah.
external funding, which is lottery funding. Yeah.
Well, it's partly lottery. It's partly face from South Gloss. We have got historic external funding that, even though it was actually spent, we spent it from core funding to maintain it, so that that's the way sort of Graham wanted to work, so that it would roll and be there for the next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, brilliant.
So we can reallocate that where we like, which is part of the 60,000.
Okay, so is there a proposal for the earmark reserve changes? Ravinda, seconded by Sue. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
So just in summary, following these budget changes, I know it's a bit more than normal, that has put us back on track. So expenditure across all sectors is now standing around about 24.18%. And based on a quarterly expectation of 25%, we're bang on the money at the moment. And we're now we've got a 27,000 surplus at year end, assuming all budgets are met and spent. So I think we're going to have to be a little bit careful going forward, but we're in a good position.
Okay, well, I think John proposed it, so I think we all appreciate your help in putting that together and explaining it to us. So thank you very much for that. Let's move on to 8.2, which is the approve and sign Barclays current and active saver statement, 30th of June 2026.
Bill, you should have those.
Nope.
Sharon had them.
Okay. She didn't put them on her desk.
It was in her bag. It was in the bag.
That bag.
Yeah.
The Barclays Select Partners.
Maybe that one. This is the part.
Yeah. So it's to approve the Barclays current and active savers. If it's not there, we can.
There's nothing in there.
Suppose,
We'll do it for the next
give
time.
it for next
Yeah.
time. Okay, noted. Okay, 8.3, we see direct debit schedules. Govinda, thank you. Is there a seconder? James, thank you. All agreed? Unanimous, thank you. And then to approve the petty cash statement.
Yeah. Seconded.
Govinda, James,
Yep.
seconders, all those agreed? Unanimous, thank you. I'm going to sign.
That was Colwinder and James. Yeah. Who proposed 8.3?
Govinda and then James seconded.
Oh, okay. So saying twice then.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then 8.5, proof of course of payments. Govinda, thank you. Seconder, Dave, thank you. All those agreed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
think the ink's still wet on those.
Okay, so I was lying from the date and time of next meeting, which is Wednesday, the 23rd of September at 6:30. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Yeah.
Have we yeah, don't get especially expensive work
Begin the meeting.
About 2 o'clock.
If we can bring ourselves back. Right. Welcome on to the 22nd of July, Domestic Planning and Environment Committee meeting. As I'm saying, we are live streamed, so be aware of what you say and do because it will be in the public domain forever. So that besides submissions from the public, I don't see any. So move on. Receive apologies for absence. I don't know if we have any. House, very good. Declarations by members under Local Government Act 1972. Do we have any? No. Moving on. That's the chair. Real quick. None. The minutes meeting at 24th June 2026. I'm happy. Proposed by Natalie, seconded by Corinda. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, and then I've seen
Abstain, I wasn't
2,
there.
and that's 6 in favour with 2 abstentions. Thank you. Right, to prepare proper authorities regarding plan applications in Bradley. So the first one is P26/01431/HH, erection of single-storey rear extension for additional living accommodation. 8 onward. It's close. Terry.
Can I just, before we start, just let you know that I've been trying to find out the current position with People's Drive patient.
Okay.
So I've had a conversation with the planning officer, and he said that, so this is a couple of weeks ago now, he said that it will be coming. So I sent a message to him yesterday and said, it's not here yet. When is it going to come? So I haven't had anything back. But
Yeah.
He said that he's got lots on at the minute. And
I'd imagine he would, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he will be doing it as soon as possible. And I know that in the, the residents.
Yeah, and you're intending to call it in so it goes to committee rather than.
That's if you can.
Well, I think it'd be. Yeah, I think that is a separate matter. But yes, so the Ormond's close application. So
I'm trying to turn it, but it won't like me.
I propose no objection.
So what I think they're just basically extending it. Where actually are they extending it?
Second thought.
There's no comments from any of the neighbours.
Yeah, second there. So just extending it out the back basically. It's okay out the garden. So a proposal for no objection from Nathan was seconded by Corinda, I think. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Wednesday, we talked about G4's Drive a few seconds ago. And we have a G4's Drive application, but a different property. P26/01460/HH, erection of single-storey rear extension to provide additional living accommodation. 53 Eagles Drive. Natalie.
I propose no objection.
Opposed, no objection. Second.
I wanted to ask a question about it.
Okay, so it's before we take anything else. Yes.
It talks about taking down the conservatory, and there's nothing in there about actually doing that. And I think this one is there appealing against it about something that was decided before. So I didn't know what that was.
Okay, so that's how to look through.
I've got no comment from M members of the public on this one, and I did check yesterday whilst putting this together, and I had nothing on this one then.
I won't see him today.
I think they've used the same agent.
Well, that's all I queried about it, but I'm happy to go with what the proposal is.
So John.
Yeah, just a comment. At the Old Prisoners Tea Party, a couple of people filling out the Bradley Stoke questionnaire, and one of the people I spoke to, I saw filling it out, was living in Elvingdown, and would have been affected by the decision we made originally, anyway, about the house on Steambridge Road, which, if you remember, that was a huge extension to it. And his point was that when we look at comments at these meetings, there isn't necessarily anything there, because although we get advised fairly promptly about planning applications, neighbours don't necessarily get the same comments. And so, if we do have a application that is actually not necessarily this one, but a bit more different to the norm, shall I say, then I think it's become on us to make sure we actually have gone physically round and knocked on a couple of doors before we come to these meetings. Not necessarily all of us, because that'll be a bit more handy, but the nominated person to go around just check that they have received the appropriate notifications.
Ben?
I think to add to that too, as much as I might look at applications away from the room, without being predetermined, I like to hear what others have got to say about the application, because sometimes it changes my view in how I've interpreted something or how it might be affected. And that's another example of where coming to this meeting and discussing the application and seeing it on the screen and then talking about it with others, it means I'm not predetermined. It means I'm coming with an open mind to this meeting. So I think I'd like reinforce that, and the fact that I really enjoy the benefit of listening to what others have got to say about the application, although it takes us a little bit more time.
I certainly value when they're more complicated. This is a single story real extension. And when I looked and reviewed it, it seemed pretty straightforward as the one above, which we've just put down.
I appreciate that. I'm just saying there's been issues when we've had in the past something that looks straightforward to us on a drawing like that but then we're looking at satellite images or feedback from neighbours and how things are overseen or not overseen and all that. That context, if isn't provided on the plan, that's brought to life by the conversation that we.
Can I just understand what you were saying that I don't know if that is.
My concern was about that shows a conservatory on there, and obviously they're going to take that down, but there's nothing on here about actually doing that. So you had to include that in your planning application, because they're putting a new extension where the conservatory was.
When I looked at it, I saw that because I compared both floor plans next to each other, and it looked like it was the same space.
Yes, you still have to just, when the planning application was supposed to say you're going to take something down existing.
I don't believe you necessarily have to mention it, but that's right.
Is that material? Is that?
I don't know, because I think you're only considering what's being applied for. If what's being applied for, what's going to be there. I don't know if you necessarily have to mention demolitions. I don't know, but that's a matter that could be considered.
And I guess as long as it's going in the same footprint, then that's not really going to be a big deal.
Yes.
I don't have any objection to it. It's just that I like Ben, like to have a bit of a discussion.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I think, was there a proposal from anyone on this one?
I did have a proposal from Natalie Field for no objection.
Yeah, I second.
Second by Coinder. All those in favour? 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and against or abstaining?
I'm just going to abstain.
Okay, 7 favour, 1 abstention. Okay. P26/01447/HH, erection of outbuilding, retrospective 103 Juniper Way. John.
I'm inclined to suggest that we raise an objection to this one. The photographs of the structure, which are available online, to my eyes, indicate a very large single-storey building in the back garden, which is adjacent to the neighbour's property. And it's retrospective, which I never like to see. No. And on that basis alone, I think I would like this Town Council Planning Committee to raise an objection. But of course, SGC officers will make the final decision. But I on the scale of those photographs, I am a bit concerned about that.
Can I just add that I would advise not objecting based on the fact it's retrospective, because it gives the potential of predetermination.
Sorry for that. I couldn't quite hear what you're saying. So just speak a little bit.
Just going off by what John was saying there, it almost sounded as if it was a predetermined decision, to object based on the fact it's retrospective. So nowadays you can't object to a retrospective planning application on the basis that it's retrospective, because it's considered predetermination.
Thank you for that advice, Phil. I hear that. Nevertheless, I think my objection remains that this looks to be a very substantial structure in a back garden. It abuts a neighbour's property, and it looks pretty big. And I would rather the town council object to it and leave it to SGC expert officers to make the final decision, as they will do.
Object for what reason?
Do we have to provide a reason?
Yes.
Yes.
Otherwise, they will ignore you.
Yes.
Because they will just summarise no matter how long we write our objection,
Right.
they will just summarise it by, we objected for these reasons.
I'm going to say PSP, and now I'm going to look to you, James, and tell me which PSC refers to neighbourhood amenity space. Is it
No, it is.
PSP 38? Great.
No, it is. But you're objecting on grounds of residential amenity.
Residential amenity.
Okay.
You get what
Well,
planning sites and places policy.
okay, right. Well, and Terry?
So is it, I find it really astonishing that we are not allowed to object based on it being retrospective. Because otherwise that is encouraging people to go and build something and then ask for planning permission.
I believe, well, there's an inherent risk that if you get refused, you're going to have the additional expense of not just the failed application, but also undoing what you've done. And that alone is meant to be disincentive. I believe the reason, I'll go to bed.
It's so the fact that it's retrospective and saying we would want to reject on the basis it's retrospective isn't a considerable reason, because that's kind of like taking issue with the process, not with the application. So if we were outside this room and we kind of went, I don't like retrospective planning applications, I'm just going to vote and eject all of them. And on a matter of principle, you could probably do that as a councillor, and if it had no material effect on the overall decision. But if the council itself is kind of saying, we want to object on the basis of retrospective, well, what grounds in planning is that? That's more of an issue for, I don't like retrospective planning applications, therefore the law should be changed, therefore I should lobby my local MP over that type of issue, as opposed to
PSP 8.
overdevelopment of the garden, imposing and all these other reasons, like legitimate reasons.
Okay. Do you think though that it encourages bad behaviour then?
I wouldn't disagree, because I'd been there for a period of time and no one had objected or complained, and then it'd been there for a period of years and they could evidence that, then you'd probably have a balance of, is it in the public interest to object to the planning, and then an officer would be dealing with that type of issue.
So
I would have expected whoever built that to advise about the fact about planning permission being.
but that's not something to consider. That's for them to. So on the actual application itself.
Well, just that I noted that they started the work in January and didn't complete it until June, so that's quite interesting. And there are no comments from neighbours.
Okay. Well, we have. So I think you mentioned PSP 8 was the one you're quoting.
PSP 8 relates. This is the South Gloucestershire Council. There's several policies to ensure high standards of residential amenity in the district. These include PSP 8, residential amenity. This policy focuses on the quality of residential development and its impact on the community. So that would be one of the reasons. And I'm looking at also at PSP 43, which deals with private amenity space standards. I would query whether or not, by taking up that rear garden with the building, PSP 43, which deals with private amenity space standards, by building on their back garden to provide an ancillary structure.
Okay.
I wonder if
and you are arguing that
it might
sufficient private means space will be left over. Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, so find that bit again, that last bit.
PSP 43 deals with private amenity space standards. So you build a house, you could have a certain amount of private amenity space to go with it, a back
Outside
garden.
of the physical building.
And what John is arguing is that this would take away some of that space and therefore leave insufficient space for the dwelling according to the standards. That's what he's arguing.
I don't know that it is infringing that standard.
But you are querying that it does.
Querying that issue on the objection.
So
Can I just make a point?
Yes, you
Having spent a year supporting a resident that is affected by four reaches of someone else's planning permission, absolutely no whatsoever. I don't think anything they hear will make any difference.
well, I might share your cynicism to some degree, Jerry.
Well,
four.
Let us be optimists. Let us be optimists. Sorry, Ben.
Can we bring up the form to understand why planning permission has been put in? So is it outside certain heights, dimensions, and those types of aspects? That's why it is. I'm assuming there's something to do with height because the pictures that have been presented from the street scene would imply height. But like, what's the material reason for that?
That's a fair point, Ben. Do we have that?
I don't think
It'd probably be an article.
Is it on there? It's a standard form they've
You're saying
downloaded.
somebody complained because it's there.
John, we can.
To put them, sorry.
Oh, I see.
Can I explain myself to John? So no, that's not what I'm saying. So I know, living in the road, there are other buildings of similar character that have been gardens. Some of those buildings, like quite small. Some of them have been
This doesn't look
like outbuilt for offices or sun houses. That's a similar kind of office sun house type. But it is a little bit larger than others and stands a bit prouder above the fence line compared to some others that I run past and things that I'm aware that are there. So I was trying to understand from the form that's been put in, is there anything we can glean in terms of like the height of the building is what's generating its need for planning application? So that, these people could have sat there or tried to sell their house or something and realised, oh, we need planning permission now for that. That's what I'm trying to ascertain.
I didn't see anything like that. No.
Right, okay.
So, John.
The point is, though, that they started this in January. So what then prompted them to put in that planning application in June?
It's possible we might not be able to find out. They might have just simply decided to. It's not necessarily a material.
If it was planning enforcement, it would be confidential between South Gloss and the resident. No one would know.
Cool.
Only thing I would just say is that they're still spending a lot of time on something that's not necessarily, that is definitely not a planning consideration. Their motives are irrelevant. Why they put the application is formally irrelevant. So unless we can very easily find it, I would suggest we probably move on and actually get to a proposal. So John, are you
just going to add some further information? Looking at that same form online, it says that this will be number 30. Additional domestic space, business space.
So possibly a home working space or home business.
Possibly
right.
so.
Okay, right. Yeah. So while you're looking at that, I think we're going to go to you're proposing we object.
To object.
Object, and can you remind me of your sort of
SP 8.
ESP 8 and
ESP 43.
So
residential amenity space.
Did you want to put any material considerations into that as well?
Material considerations.
I mean, those are material. Do you mean like any?
They're not. No, they're not material considerations. These are to do with the local plan. Material considerations are like overdevelopment, out of keeping with the street scene, incongruous to the street scene.
Keeping with the street scene, as Ben has rightly pointed out, there's a number of other.
So you're suggesting out of keeping the street scene, and I assume if it's taking away too much space, you are also arguing overdevelopment.
I'll go with that.
So in which case those are the
establish that is the case, or maybe that's the recommendation. Is it object on the basis that it needs to be established whether it is overdevelopment?
I think you just argue that it is, and then
they have to say, oh no, that's.
And then you're raising the issue, and then they have to look at it, and
it would be for the planning officer to determine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have a proposal from John objecting on those two local plan conditions, out keeping the street scene and no development. Is there a seconder for that objection? Sue. Thank you. Oh, I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm relatively okay with this. So, all those in favour of that objection? 1, 2, 3. Any more? Abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 against. So that is carried with a minority of the committee.
Exactly.
The objection.
The objection's carried.
Yeah, because
Yeah, of course.
3 in favour, 1 against, 4 abstentions means that as a majority of 2 among only half of the committee voting properly.
At the end of the day, it's for an expert officer to make a decision.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
but a surprising way for the objection to happen. But okay, next application, P26/05. Sorry again. P26/01582/HH. Erection of single-story rear extension, raised the roof line to facilitate front lot and rear dormers to form loft conversion with installation of two front roof lines and installation of integrated solar PV panels, erection front porch. So basically, it's a slight rear extension, bit of roof extension to put. I assume that's to facilitate the actual solar being put on because it needs to be a certain angle.
No, I don't think it's anything to do with the solar. It's about putting rooms in the loft.
Yeah.
And they want to build a dormer front and back, which I thought was probably out keeping with the street scene. It's quite complicated, the application.
Let's have a look at what they're doing. That's a very good point, Ben. Let's have a look at their actual, what are they trying? I don't know that bad. I quite like that, actually.
We probably need to look and see if there's any
5 bedroom 5. So 5 bedrooms. So that is
And the study proposed of space, in addition to bedroom 5, is about the same size as the bedroom
And a bathroom.
and a bathroom.
so 5 bedrooms. So that therefore, God, I try to remember the parking standard. I think that means they have to have 3 parking spaces.
Yeah, so the best rule of thumb is basically it's half a parking space per bedroom.
Rounded up to the nearest space.
It's
So that means they need to have
the
3.
floor on the house.
So it's per bedroom. It's half a parking space per bedroom. Yeah. So you need a round up to the nearest whole
You see the
parking
parking
space.
structure.
I'm just getting there.
Sorry.
John, yes.
If Councillor Bancroft was minded to raise an objection to that application, I would support the objection.
Let's have a look at what they're doing first, and then we can get to proposals. Let's look at this in detail.
I think this is opposite Tesco, isn't it? Over there.
That looks wonderful and crescent.
It's in Bradley Stoke South Ward, I think.
So it's ours.
Yeah.
It is by Willow Brook.
Right, it's opposite us, isn't it?
Big houses down that road. Could we just have a look at the physical photo, the actual photos,
The existing one, yeah?
if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
This is now.
This is now, these are photos submitted by the applicant.
And which property is it
This isn't me going to the house.
with the car in front? Is it the one on the left?
I believe so. I'm trying to, yes, I believe it's the one on the left, because when I was looking at the Google.
Because they're a pair, aren't they? They're a pair of detached matching currently.
but I think they're all detached.
Yeah. It's the one on the left, because it's this one. Wherever my mouth is on.
Is there, and that's their garage as well, is it, that second one?
Yes, I believe so. Let me have a look at the site plan. Wherever it is. Location. No, the garage is not theirs.
The garage is.
Not theirs. So the garage connected to the house is theirs. The one which is next to is not theirs.
The integral garage belongs to that property, but the one next to that garage is not
Correct.
that property.
And also, I suppose they've only got to get in and out that.
So that isn't their garage. That is their garage.
I believe so. Yes.
And then that's
Says they're
the
putting a new
page
shop
backs onto
as
the
well
garden.
to the front.
This is, I don't know if I can actually say this, but this is very.
Is that a Google Maps Street View?
Mm.
That's not the South Gloss photo.
Right. Okay.
Much less. I was going to say, because probably half an hour to start.
There were no comments, but bear in mind,
Yeah.
the comment you made earlier, this only came in the start of this week's laptop.
So
Sorry, which property is it on?
it might get
It's the one outlined in.
red.
I can't, sorry, I
Just-
can't see the red.
Enlarge it, Phil.
It's that.
Right, okay, thank you.
The walls around it are houses in another road, aren't they? What that is, isn't it? Sort of corner properties.
So
No, so down here, I believe this is where you'll find the walk-through that gets locked off by Willowbrook, the big wooden fence.
It's quite tight on parking around there anyway, from what I
to
remember.
be fair, but on the alternative, and this is where the new local plan comes in, the new local plan reduces parking standards because it determines that a town centre area street doesn't use so much parking. And I dare say, if you're that close to Willowbrook Centre, do you necessarily need as many cars? It's an argument.
It's dormer along.
Yes.
All the way across the back.
And extension.
It's okay. If you just
Extension
jump on
across the back.
Bill,
Massive dormer across the back.
is so.
Stand it, and
Let's say from the side of the red bar,
there'll be a massive
gonna have a-
extension, which we've got application.
you know. So is the person who drives onto their drive in front of the garage, are they going to be able to open their car door?
I think it's the previous one. No, it's not that one.
Because that's exactly what the problem was with this particular instance. They could,
I think I know the one you mean. Is that the lady who parked her car in the garage?
Yeah.
And then she wasn't able to when they built outwards.
This isn't coming out of the front, though, is it? This isn't building out the front, though, is it?
They're doing the porch, but are they doing upstairs out the front? It's in the roof. Different. It won't like that.
But that I'm answering
That's
Terry's question because it doesn't. So the space where the cars are kind of coming in and out of garages is not being altered.
No.
Only the space by the front door has been altered, and then
So this space here basically is the part that's being altered. So this is the garage.
that's leaving the
Or
gap.
their garage, not the.
So they're extending
along.
along the back.
And then they're just extending their porch out.
So how many parking spaces do they have at the moment?
So just one.
One.
They would have one parking space
For four
off street.
So they're already so they've already got 4, and they go to 5 garage. They're already in breach of
Yeah, but they're
planning. But so technically,
touching their wall there.
technically that means
Aside from the build line of the original.
they're going to be further in breach. But they sort of weighing up in my mind is that they're in a central area. Do they need the parking? You know, but also they are going to put
The parking. It's a 6-bed house, isn't it?
5 bed. 5. But they are in a very central area with very good access to Metrobus and, you know, so do they and they're right next to, you know, a major shopping centre. Do they need the parking?
Perhaps if they go to work elsewhere, yes.
And
But then also they get to work by public transport. They have a very good high transport connection
they
within.
would want to carry a family shop home.
and like you said, they're already in breach. If they've got 5 bedrooms already,
4,
cool.
so they need 2 parking spaces.
They need to, yeah. So
And then they look to be running a business on the address.
Yeah, it looks like they are. In terms of family shop, they can literally take their trolley from the Woodbrook back home and go back and because they're literally right next to the Rock Centre. They're right next to the Tesco. You know, it's probably one of the areas where you could do a big family shop pretty easily.
Their cars for different reasons, so we can't.
Yeah.
There's some.
Yes, yeah, that's a fair point. So, do we have a proposal from anyone as to objection or non-objection?
I'm hearing the conversation. I think that there's general concerns about the size of the development. So bearing in mind that, I'll propose that we object.
Object.
Very, very openly.
Well, you can't say. Quick question.
Sue proposed it originally, and then I
Okay, so
said, "Oh,
And that's due to the front not in keeping with the street scene because they're going to put a dormer window on the top floor of that house.
okay.
They're very clever in the pictures that they put up within that. You can't really see what it would look like, but it's definitely a dormer.
Okay.
They've got to take the roof line
Yeah. So, so you're objecting on the grounds of outkeeping the street scene because of the dormers,
The front dormer,
front dormers,
front
okay,
dormer, and the raising of the roof line.
and raising the roof line. Okay. Are you also objecting on the grounds of insufficient parking, or are you not?
I assume they would argue that they can park in the garage and they can park in front of the garage, which means you've got 2 cars. And I think 5, you only need 2, don't you?
You need 3 technically.
3 will then insufficient parking.
So okay, so you're also arguing insufficient parking provision, which would lead to on-street parking and ensuing issues.
Well, they say they need it for a growing family, and I bet all the teenagers will drive too.
Right. Okay. So objecting on basically residential on outkeeping the street scene and insufficient parking.
Yeah.
Proposed by Sue. Who seconded that one? John Bradbury. Second that one. All that.
Propose it.
Do propose.
Proposed John seconding, I think.
I've already made the notes to propose John seconded.
Right. Okay. It's decided. Right. All those in favour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those against. 1. And then I assume you're abstaining. So that's 6 in favour, 1 against, 1 abstention. That's carried. Now we move on to number 5. So P26/01478/HH installation of 1 air source heat pump in rear garden, 44 Snowbury Close. I think on the basis of rear garden, I'm happy to propose no objection. I think Terry was first technically. So propose myself, seconded by Terry. All those in favour of no objection?
I hope they realise it won't work, but I think
Heat pumps are also air conditioning units. There's just the revert if they can heat.
pumps.
Yes.
Well, no, if they can,
They can be called
Yes, that was the honest.
they can
What is 17 million?
All right.
valve them. It's the
Okay.
Thousands of, no, somebody said that. Bumping through there, but I think 18 grand. Well, massively expensive and noisy as well.
You.
I think that is.
Right. Consider any matters arising in the minutes of the meeting on 24th of June 2026 not covered elsewhere on the agenda. 7.1 update on Brighton Town Council local climate nature action plan. 7.1.1 Watermark Town Initiative. Do we have any updates?
You do have a report
Okay.
in your pack. Yeah. Natalie probably wants to say something on this.
John might have been first.
John,
I've got a question, if I may, please, Chair.
you may.
Maybe.
If you're on the spot, Phil, what does de-urbanising gardens and driveways to improve drainage mean, please, do you think?
So planting more wildflowers, plants generally that are going to suck up quite a lot of water, trying to remove concrete areas that will sit and hold that water. The idea is it's taking water away from going down the sewer. So if you have plants that are going to consume quite a lot of water, that in turn will stop so much rainwater
We're not
down the drains.
residents to rip up their block paving driveways, are we?
well, that's what that is.
They may. I'll consider putting drains in.
Right. Okay.
Also, I do think Bradley Bear's getting overexposure.
Okay, right. Natalie, is there anything you wish to say, or?
So I was wondering about the campaign, the awareness campaign. Has it actually been launched? Have these materials gone out?
I don't believe so yet.
No. It's just that I had some comments about maybe the message could be a little bit more direct in places. I was thinking like the third one along. Is that a little bit confusing, the message? So I just made a few points. I didn't finish all of it, but if it's possible to feed in. I'm just thinking, in terms of behaviour change, quite important behaviour change unit.
Yeah, fair enough. That's very good point.
Shall I just give you my comments?
Yeah.
If they're just suggestions.
Okay. That's very helpful. Anyone else? No, in which case we will move on to item 7.2 SGC local plan progression update. John, you tend to give a lot. Is there anything regarding
The local plan,
You can say no.
I'm no longer in.
Oh, yes, so now cabinet for communities and local
Yeah.
governments.
Councillor Dave Addison's taken over from me in that responsibility. The local plan inquiry public finished last week. Just earlier on, Dave said that there will be and are ongoing communications between the inspectors and South Gloucestershire Council officers, but that's all not public. And
Got any amendments to the plan, which
Correct.
might get agreed between them and the inspectors, and that will then get consulted on with a view to adopting the local plan by the end of the year.
that's the schedule I'm aware of, yes. And
Okay.
more than that, I know no more of this.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I was hoping to keep that quiet.
Right, item 8, to note the issue outcome of previous plan applications and other documents pertaining to planning and environment issues. We have 5 decisions.
Can I just make a comment on one thing?
You very much may.
So the final decision, P26011428 ABV, relates to the Lidl signs that are going to go in at the Willowbrook Centre.
Yeah.
As you'll remember, council put forward the idea of having the signs switched off at night, which the planning officer has listened to, and in the permission they've granted,
Yes,
they have put it in that the lights need to be turned off at 10 o'clock.
absolutely fantastic.
And when can they turn back on again in the morning?
I believe it's 6:45 a.m. onwards, but yeah.
So very good to mention that then. All right,
3.
good result. Right, deal item.
Learning from applications, that is.
Deal with master and to work within the scope of the Environment Committee, not covered elsewhere. We have one item that's requested by the Indian flag. Proposed, we accept what we agree by Kawenda. I'll Terry will second that. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Item 10, matters health and safety. There are none. To item 11, to confirm time date next meeting, Wednesday, 26th of August, 2026 at 7:30. All items fine. Finished.
Is there going to be a sort of a do, what's a better word, on the 15th?
15.
The Indian flag raising.
Yeah.
I would recommend that you probably approach Councillor Tom Beecher,
Yeah.
because he's quite heavily involved and he puts through the
Yeah.
requests.
But normally, before
I have mentioned things since it's
reads and things like that. Yeah,
They kind
they do. Yeah.
You'd have to ask Tom. Probably ask Tom.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know about that, but that being, I think I therefore
Doesn't happen about 9 o'clock.
close the meeting.
I just checked something.
Yeah.
The 26th of August is only planning. It's no finance. Planning only meet